Welcome to the Turning Lemons into Lemonade podcast. Each week, your host, Amy Mewborn, business strategist and advisor, will bring you the stories of how successful women entrepreneurs turn their tragedies into triumphs to create the businesses that are changing the world today. And now, your host, Amy Mewborn.
Amy Johnson has built her life and business on the belief that your path can be a casualty of your circumstance or championed by your convictions. Staying true to this belief, Amy reaffirms her commitment to her convictions daily. With a structured combination of holistic practice, curated organization, dedicated education, and cultivated partnerships, she believes anyone can live a truly balanced and prosperous life. Welcome, Amy. We're so glad you're here. If you'll start by telling us how you got started in your business.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Amy. I got started in my business because I became a stay-at-home mom after working in the corporate, and I didn't have anything to do, and I felt like there was more of me to give to women, and I wanted to create a community where women could come and grow and learn and process through all of the things that they were going through. Because as we know, as moms, as women, as wives, as all the roles that we are, it's not always easy, and no one gets it better than women. So that's how I got started.
So tell me, what had you been doing in corporate?
I actually was working for my husband's business. We're both serial entrepreneurs. We have different businesses together, separate with other people. And I came in as the operations manager, and then I kind of went into HR, and we were a startup. So, startups require many different hats all the time. So I was doing that, and I did that for about 3 years. And in that process, we opened other businesses. One of them was a vending machine business. One of them was a gym. One of them was, acquiring other businesses in the same realm and trying to figure all of that out while being a mom still.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I will tell you, I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we hear from women, especially women entrepreneurs, is that they're wearing so many hats and they're juggling so many different responsibilities. Mm-hmm. So tell me, what has been one of the biggest struggles you've had in growing your business?
Putting me first, putting my business first, and realizing that it's okay to do that, above friends, above other businesses, above, some of the things that you want to binge watch TV or, you want to do like the fun things. I think that as women, we feel like we have to do it all. We have to be able to do it all really successfully and really gracefully and very unmessy. Uh-huh. And that was probably the biggest thing for me, was realizing that it doesn't have to be perfect and it doesn't have to be right. And it's okay if I fail, because then I can learn again and I can try again. And also the struggle of, you trying to, I won't say like picking the right people, but kind of picking the right people in helping to support you. So.
And when you say picking the right people to help support you, do you mean like on your staff? Do you mean friendships? Do you mean family? Because again, as entrepreneurs, our businesses kind of invade our entire lives. So when you say picking people to support you, what do you mean there?
I think it's all of the above. I think it's, if you're running something absentee, or if you're hiring a virtual assistant, or even a nanny, you have to make sure that you pick the right person, because they're taking over something that you're giving them something to free up your time and your space. So you have to make sure that it's the right person. Family members as well, because, not everyone's an entrepreneur and not everyone gets it. Fortunately for me, my husband and his family, they're all entrepreneurs. so they get it. My family, not so much. So it's kind of like the fine line of, you go surface deep with some people, and then other people are like, yeah, I totally get it. Like, I will come get the kids, or I will, I'll be a guinea pig for whatever, and I think that is super, super important for entrepreneurs.
It's funny that you say that, because I was at a conference last week and I was with Felina Hansen, who's the founder of HeraHub, and she was telling the story of the fact that she grew up in a family of entrepreneurs and how supportive they were, and how it was always expected that she would become an entrepreneur because that was what her family had always done. And I actually came from the exact opposite. And my parents were always employees. And so they had always told us, go to school, get good grades, get into a good college, get a good job, and, stay with that company for years and years and years. And we just don't live in that society anymore. We don't get pensions, and we're really solely responsible for making sure that we're going to be okay in retirement, or that our kids are going to get educations. And so it's just really interesting how that has shifted.
Right. And I mean, my parents were employees. My mom just retired last year. And my dad will work until the day that he dies. Right. Yeah. So, but for other people, and my husband became an entrepreneur when he was 17, and my mother-in-law was an entrepreneur. Like, she homeschooled he and his brother, and she would take them on jobs. So he would be painting and, fixing things and all that stuff. And, I think about, as a mom of two girls, I have a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old. When we had our gym, we would take them or I would take them to the meetings with the staff in the mornings, and, they would play, but still it was that process of getting up and going before school, and, that ritual of it all. And I think that there's a good mix, and it's super important to have a good mix to make people well-rounded these days, because like you said, we're responsible for all that now.
So as you were talking about that, I was remembering a story. When I was in finance, we worked with a couple of clients, and they were the Bren brothers, Peter and Donald Bren, and they're located in Orange County in California. And they told the story of when they were children, they would have to go to work with their father. And I don't remember exactly what the father did, but when they went to work with dad, they were responsible for emptying the trash cans, for sweeping up the floors, and all those things as children. And it's really funny, because eventually one of them is the founder of a real estate investment company called KBS. And then one is the founder of the Irvine Company, which basically owns 90% of Irvine and is taking over San Diego as we speak. But they both tell this story of the entire time they were growing up. That was expected of them. They went to work with dad. And I loved that story, because it goes to show that this father had no problem having his sons empty their trash cans. And these kids took that into a lesson about real estate, and both are wildly, wildly successful. So yeah, it's just fascinating, because honestly, kids are observing things that are going on. They see what their parents are doing, and they aspire a lot of times to be just like their parents. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think too, like with YouTube and the videos, I mean, I know my kids, they pretend that they're setting up a shop, and they say, hey guys, welcome to blah, 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 whatever it is. And they proceed to create this video. I mean, we don't post it anywhere. We probably should.
You should.
But they're really great at, creating these videos. And I feel like that is their own little avenue into the entrepreneurship. And it reminded me, when you were telling this story, that I grew up on a farm, and our responsibilities were going out and taking care of the farm animals morning and night. And my parents went to work, and we took care of the animals.
Yeah.
And our parents didn't do any of that for us. So I feel like that was kind of my leeway, or my, the whole process of being an entrepreneur, just not in that sense.
Sure.
So, but I learned so many things from it.
That's amazing. So tell me about the worst day you've actually had in your business. That day where, you put your head down in your hands and you're like, oh my gosh, I just don't know if I'm ever going to recover from this.
Gosh, I would say that was when the first time I launched a product or a program and no one bought it. And I'm like, but this is the best thing ever. Like, who wouldn't want this? And it's so affordable and it can help so many people, and no one sold it, or no one bought it. And, beforehand, I'm like telling my husband, I'm like, this is going to be so great. I put all this time and this effort and this energy into it, and no one buys it. And I'm like, well, maybe I'm not made for this. Maybe I should just quit and, go on with life and just forget it even happened. I remember crying and being like, I'm the worst thing ever. And, oh my gosh, I'm not cut out for this. And but obviously I've recovered from it. I've done many of them since then.
So tell me, how did you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and say, okay, that didn't go like I thought it would, but we're going to keep moving forward? Because honestly, I believe anyone that's ever done any kind of online product launch has gone through that at least once.
Yes. And I could say at least once too. I've learned from that. I think after crying and like taking a soaking, like sulking wine bath, like the things to make you feel all girly and make you feel like all warm and stuff inside, and realizing that it's a failure and there's a lesson in that. I took those lessons. Like I said, okay, well, maybe I didn't do the proper research, or maybe, it wasn't as great, or maybe the price point's not right, or maybe it's just not the right time. Which for me, it wasn't the right time. I took it and relaunched it later and it was fine. But I just think for me, it was realizing that no, I don't, like, it's okay to suck for a second. And it's okay to like feel bad for yourself. It's okay for that. And we all do that. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really have the time to like sit and sulk and be there for days, because as I mentioned a little bit ago, I have other businesses and I have 2 kids. Like, life just doesn't stop. So for me, it was get it all out and then move on. I wanted to quit, but then 2 little kids came home and they're like, oh, what did you do today? And, all happy and loving, and you're so great, mommy. And, so those things right there helped me to pick myself up, and get back on the horse the next day.
So tell me, when you went to relaunch it, because again, we've all gone through this, and a lot of times it could be messaging, it could be positioning, it could be timing, it could be pricing. What did you find were the things that needed to be tweaked for next time for you?
Well, my following wasn't that great at the time, so I built a better following. I also tweaked some of the fluffy words out, and made it more concrete, where people could really understand and really relate. I shared more of my story, where I was coming from and how it helped me. And then I just, I said, I found some people that were key, that are my friends, outside of the online space. And I said, hey, do you mind commenting on this, or, telling a few people, or can I share it in your group? So I just found the key people that helped me really to get it going, to share it with their tribe as well. So that helped me get back up on the horse.
Sure. That's huge, because a lot of times, we go and we launch something, but we haven't been list building. We haven't been nurturing an audience. And so, you go and you put something out there and you're like, but this is amazing. Why would they not want this? And it's not that they don't want it. It's that often we're talking to crickets, no one's hearing us yet. And a lot of times I find women business owners think that I'm going to go post something on Facebook, and actually all business owners, but women in particular, because we're so community oriented, they're like, I'm going to go post something on Facebook and I'm going to have a line of people buying my products. And, you know, it's way more complicated than that.
Yes. But I also think that there are some people that do put that out there and say, oh, I did XYZ and that was the only thing I did. When in reality, they've been doing that for years or for months. But what they're bringing to the table is, I just did this one day and then it happened for me. So I think it's a little bit of both things where people aren't necessarily true.
Well, that's one of the reasons we've launched this podcast as a whole, is that I feel like as women, we're putting out all the good stuff. And I kind of call it like your Instagram feed, where everything's Instagram perfect. And, you know, then when you're scrolling through Instagram, you're looking at everyone else and you're like, man, they've got everything I ever wanted. And then you go and you look around at your own life and you're like, oh man, I just don't measure up. And it's not that. It's just that when we're all putting out the highlight reel of our life, no one sees the day that your product didn't do well. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I put in all this work or all this money and I didn't get anything back.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I'm a big proponent of like changing the Instagram feed. I post whatever is going on. And because that's what my people want. Like my people want to see like the realness and the vulnerability. And yes, I post a lot about my kids too, but you know what? If you're ideal, you probably have kids or you want to have kids or, you know, whatever. So you totally relate to that. And I think that I tell people all the time, like, don't compare yourself to Instagram. Like that is the worst thing that you could do in the entire world. And that right there will send you into a spiral, like saying, I'm just going to quit today.
Sure. So tell me, what is your secret sauce? What's your bragging rights? What are you bringing to the space that is unique only to you?
Well, my story and the fact that I've built this foundation, I didn't come from anything. I came from poverty. I came from mental health issues. I came from just this crappy place. And I built myself up. I figured out a way to take myself from, you know, living day to day, from having to donate plasma so my daughter could eat, to building multiple businesses, to having them be successful, to figuring out like how to do the mom, how to do the multiple businesses, how to do all of the things and still care for me and still like love me and still, you know, do that daily and not compromise on that. And all the life experience that, you know, I feel is a super, super important for everyone. There's a reason we're here. And I believe that the things that you've gone through are there for a reason to help others. So I try to bring that up for other women, for my clients, that, you know, your past isn't terrible. Your past is, you're in your past. Maybe you still have some lessons to learn, but that doesn't mean that it has to define you. So that's what I believe.
So one of the things that you teach a lot of is mindset, correct?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about how you would tell a client to protect her mindset or to change her mindset. What advice would you give a client that walked into you and said, Amy, I'm so down, I'm struggling. Business hasn't been what I thought it was going to be. I'm having a hard time in my marriage. You know, all these things that, again, we're juggling 8 million tasks. What kind of advice would you give her?
Well, first I would say, I get it, because I've been there. I could totally relate. I could totally put myself in your shoes. But I also encourage you to take a look, and maybe these are recurring patterns. Maybe these are things that you've done in the past that are being brought forward to you for you to actually get this time. For, you know, maybe they're emotional things. Maybe they're things that you've buried away and not dealt with, because that was me for a long time. And then, really look at those and really say, okay, am I being the victim, or am I realizing that this is happening for a reason, and I get to choose. I get to decide if I'm going to play the victim card or if I'm going to be above this. Yeah. And once you make that decision, you can't go back.
I love that. That is so powerful. And I want to make sure that we really hit home on that, because you can't be powerful and a victim at the same time.
Yeah.
You get to be one or the other. And we all probably have an element of self-sabotage when things start to get so good, you're like, oh, I don't know. And even if you don't realize it, a lot of times you're doing things in the background that are kind of causing you to backslide. But once you're mindful of that, I'm either the victim or I am powerful in creating and controlling my own life, everything starts to change, doesn't it?
Yeah, it totally does. And there was something I lost there, but I wanted to say that there are times in your life where you can say, I'm powerful, but I realize that this is coming up. So you get to take a little break and then get back on, get back in it, because there are going to be times where, you may get triggered, or when you think you've overcome something, then something bigger comes. And it happens in business too, and if you think that, your home life isn't affecting your business life, you're wrong. Everything is connected. And when you start to fix one thing, it starts to spill over into other things. So if your business isn't working right now, well, look at your personal life. If your personal life isn't working, well, look at your business, so everything is so related and everything plays on one another.
Yeah, that's great advice. I did a seminar earlier this year, and one of the things that they really tried to drive home for us was there's two versions of what has really happened in every element of our life. There's what's happened, and then there's the story that we attach to what's happened.
Yep.
And, when you say what happened, well, I fell and I broke my arm. What's the story that I attached to that? Well, I'm a klutz. I broke my arm. I can't do this. I can't do that, and it's all these things, and it's all self-imposed. So, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I think it's important too to find people that see you, when you're in this space of I don't know if I can do this, or I'm not good enough. I think it's super important to find people outside of you that can truly reflect what they see in you, all the good things that they see in you. I know that when I was going through it, when I was making through all the changes, surrounding myself with people that saw things that I didn't and helped to build me up was a huge changing point and a huge starting point for the person that I am today. So finding those people too.
So where did you find those people? Where did you find your tribe that helped support you and help you grow?
I found it by accident, really. My brother-in-law was one of them. He dated my brother for a really long time, and I just so happened to work for him, and he's like, you're amazing, you're great, you're wonderful. So that was one of them, who I still, every single day, build me up. And I do the same now for him because I can. But my husband is also one of those people, my mother-in-law. And then I have friends from forever ago that I'm not even the same person that I was when I met them. And it's just, there's a spark, I think. There's this connection that you realize when it's this person is good for you, and friendship, whatever. And I also have 2 little girls that look to me every day and say, Mommy, you're so amazing and you're so great and I love you. And, who wouldn't want that, right? Who wouldn't look to that and say, and maybe boys do too. I don't know. I don't have boys, but
I love it. So tell me, what one piece of advice would you give to a woman business owner just getting started, or who had come to you and said, Amy, I'm a year into my business and I'm just struggling? What would you tell her?
Keep going. Don't give up. Don't compare yourself to everyone out there, because you're not them. Your journey is way different, and your path, like the things that you're meant to do, are so different than anyone else. And there's a reason you're doing it. There's a reason you're called to it and not something else. There's a reason that your heart flutters and your heart sings and you stay up all hours of the night and you wake up all hours of the morning, because that's the passion. And no one else can do it like you. So yeah, it sucks. Yeah, yeah, it's not going to be fun, but you're going to look back and learn from it. So keep going.
So what do you have coming up in your business that you're really excited about and you want our listeners to hear?
So I have this amazing ebook that I'm giving away. You can text the word cocktail, COCKTAIL, to 444-999. And it's this ebook that talks about affirmations. And I'm a huge believer of essential oils and changing those memories and those pathways in your brain. And it's going to lead into this program that will help you create a solid foundation in your life daily. And it could be as little as 5 minutes, or it could be as long as 5 hours, whatever, 5 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour, whatever it is. And it's really going to help you to discover who you really are and what you have to bring to the table. So that's it.
So where can our listeners find you? What's your website? We're going to put it all in the show notes too, but we always like, for anyone that's driving, or for me, I'm always on the treadmill when I'm listening to podcasts. Where can they find you?
You can find me at www.amyj.co. And then that's my website. And then on Instagram, it's at amyj.co. And then Facebook, Amy Johnson. So the other two are probably easier because Johnson is so common. So
awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been lovely, and I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun.
In today's episode, we talked about masterminds and mentors. So if you would like our free checklist on questions to ask before joining a mastermind, please go to the show notes at lemonadepodcast.com.
Thank you for listening to Turning Lemons into Lemonade, where women go for support and encouragement to hear how other women business owners turn their setbacks into successes to create 6- and 7-figure businesses. We look forward to seeing you next week.